We interrupt your broadcast of, I don't really know what anybody could be watching before they turn on this episode of the Harness Players podcast or whatever YouTube puts on before us, because you can just leave YouTube on in the background. So I guess we interrupt your putter review, or I put 30 grandmas in one Cold Stone Creamery video for another episode of Borgata Series action here on the Harness Players podcast. I am Ray Cotolo, joined as always on these shows by Mr. Mikey P and Mr. Edison Hatter, currently on the run, which is ironic considering he is currently in a car. Folks, we have 3 divisions for the 4th preliminary of this Borgata series. 5 preliminaries total. We're already knocking on the door. Hello. You can't come in right now. I'm recording a podcast. There's just no sense of manners inside of today's world. But we got the series final coming up to us quite quickly on Friday, May the 8th. Just one more prelim to go after this. But I felt like, Mike, we had a pretty good result based on how the show went last week. Our 10-minute discussion of what Price Coach's Corner might be proved nebulous, even though he proved much the best. And, I mean, probably the gift of the whole night. We got, 2-1, 5-2 on Mosdale Ben in that romp?
Thankfully. I'm not sure what happened at the top of the stretch. I'm sure we'll be talking about that. But how about Coach's Corner 1-9? And he was hanging around even money-ish until the gate rolled, and then he clicked to 1-9, and he won like a 1-9 shot. So obviously he's back, but he's back to his drawing ways too, because he got the outside post again this week. So no easy roads, no easy legs for that guy. Mosdale Ben, he's back to himself, and we kind of thought he might be. That was his time to win. I thought the captain was okay. And hunting the last dollar, he just keeps putting in those massive efforts. The same horses are pretty much showing up every week now. There's a huge differential between the top ones and the ones that really are lacking. So I think that there's 3 or 4 top horses, and the rest really, I mean, they're looking for scraps.
The main thing I'm wondering, Ed, is will you be paying me? You offered, $428 on Coach's Corner was the win payoff you thought it was going to be. When are you going to pay me that?
I don't believe I'm on the record saying that, but I will say Mosdale Ben, who I said was going to come back and win, Ray, he won so well. This is the week. Look, I don't have just water this week. I've got cucumber flavored. Like we really, this is my version of Mike Chanel bags. Like we've got the fancy water now. I don't know, but it was more expensive, so we got the extra money because we got Mosdale Ben home. I'm sure we will talk about top of the stretch because I believe I texted both of you right when that happened. That was an intriguing situation. And in general, yeah, I think we saw some good racing last week. I'm sure we're going to see the point standings, right, Ray? We got those point standings, so I can say what I was going to say. Maybe, I don't know. I'll be honest. I haven't actually.
Maybe if you vamp for a little bit, that'll actually bring them out of hiding.
And you know what? I'll be honest. I actually haven't seen them, so I am curious to see them. But I think I have an idea in my head, and I'll kind of fill in the gaps here until we actually see them on screen. But I think we do see every year, Mike, that these top horses do rise, right? The cream rises to the top. We see that happen. I think we see that happen every time. But, and this is always the important caveat to say, open draw. Doesn't matter. The final is a straight open draw. So you can win every single division along the way you want. You can still get post 8 in the final. So that really is the great equalizer, that even though there's 3 or 4 horses that we might be looking to at this point as kind of the expected possible winners of the series, that post draw is ultra important when it comes to that final. And almost always, I believe it was Coach's Corner, we got post 8 last year. Almost always somebody is going to get the unfortunate post draw that is going to hurt their chances.
Yeah, if I was betting, I would say Coach's Corner is probably going to end up in the outside post again because that's just his luck. So
I don't have the current point standings. I went to the Yonkers Raceway website because the SOA has not posted the current standings, but I think we can presume who the top ones are based on how this whole series has gone. Just for a fun fact, I went to the Yonkers Raceway website, and when I pulled up the series standings, I was like, oh, wait, the 4th leg already happened? And then I looked, I saw Desperate Man was on top, and it was 2024. So I don't think that's the series standings we want for our intensive purposes. But unfortunately, we don't have the replays from like 3 either for this episode. So my apologies on that. We're waiting for the portal to send them through the ether and into my hard drive. So hopefully we'll have them for next week. But we can kind of talk about it's interesting because even with the replay, we were all trying to figure out what happened at the top of the stretch of the Mazdale Ben race because Ed, specifically Yonkers, for the last, it's got to be decade or more at this point, when they come for home, the horses they're leaving heaven. They go into this shining light and then all of a sudden emerge out of it where you can't really even tell what specifically goes on, but it did kind of look like there was just a bit of some, race driving, Marone kind of going wide, and then that causing some momentum to get carried wide. Am I being kind of light in my description of that? No pun intended. Or did your eye kind of catch something a bit harsher?
All right, Ray, the joy of live programming. I just got a junk phone call in the background, so unfortunately you cut out for like the middle 10 seconds what you said there, but I think I got enough of a gist of it that I can kind of go with it here. I'll listen to this.
Oh, and he muted himself.
Oh, boy.
That's great. His sound just went off, so this is probably the greatest answer he's ever given. And and they just don't want us to hear it. Are you by chance still there, Ed? Are you?
No.
Okay. That's incredible. So obviously he probably was. Are you back? Are you ready to play with us?
I don't think he can hear us now.
He's probably still on that phone call. Maybe he's the drunk one, in which case who's driving? I'll throw it to you then, Mike, because obviously Ed is not allowed to say his answer. But did you think that there was any type of harsher contact? Because to me, it just kind of looked like, there's just some extra momentum coming wide, and then that just kind of crossed paths.
It could be. It's difficult. It was difficult to see. Like, you had to watch it 3 or 4 times. That's the thing. It wasn't obvious. And I watched it 3 or 4 times. At first, I thought that there was an issue. And then after watching it a few times, I don't think there was. It's just, maybe the outside horse, kind of the force took him out that way and he just lost a little ground. And at that point, that's when Mazdale Ben accelerated and it was exaggerated. So I don't know. I mean, it's, watch it for yourself. That's all I can say.
I didn't hear anything of what you had to say, Ed, but I was imagining it was probably, I picked up from what Mike was saying what you were probably going to say.
Can you hear me now? Let's start there.
Yes.
Okay. Junk phone call came through, and I think that completely screwed up my phone system, the joy of live recording stuff. So that was the cause of it. So blame a Georgia phone number that junk phone called me. Or if somebody from Georgia really needed me, I will return it after the show, I guess. Actually, I won't. I'm going to ignore it because I think it was junk. Yeah, no. And to be fair, you cut out Ray because of that junk call. So I kind of caught most of what you said. But I think, for me, I mean, look, I believe I immediately texted you two, like literally as I crossed the line, seeing for something. I'm like, oh my gosh, I think I almost went down. And, I think rewatching it, it was kind of an awkward moment. I mean, look, the long story short answer is I don't think the horse was injured. I don't think it's anything to be scared of or worried about going forward. I think it was kind of a freak one-off weird step, but it was odd. I mean, I don't know. It'd be a great question if we had a chance to get Jimmy Marone Jr. back on the show again to ask him about. But I really did, watching it live, think maybe he was, maybe not seriously in danger of going down, but it did. It just felt like it was really, really awkward. And there was a fairly lengthy inquiry looking into it. Obviously, the judges took no action on it. But again, 150-1 is an incredible time at Yonkers. It's I believe it was 149-4 is the track record. I think that's correct, or 49-3, somewhere around there. It's very close. Let's put it that way. And that record, of course, like I remember that we got 150 flat, and I believe 149-4 we even got to with I think a $40,000 claimer in the first race one night at Yonkers, like a couple of Julys ago when I was working there, because it was just so perfect conditions that early July, sunset going down, just perfect timing. This is early April. I mean, yes, it's starting to get a bit warmer, but, nighttime, it was a little bit later into the card. That's a pretty darn impressive mile from Mazdale Ben. I think he's solidified for sure that he's back to hopefully some of his old self. And, again, it is unfortunate we don't have point standings to specifically look at, but I suspect he's on the way to being good, but I think he needs to pick up a few more here, though, right? Because so far in the series, he's got I think a second, a win, and an off the board placing or third, somewhere like that, right? So it's definitely
second, and first. So
okay. So he's in
Yeah.
decent shape then.
He's got
150 points,
175.
that's
but
about, yeah.
it still can't hurt to get always more points, right?
No, and I'm probably gonna have to go back and watch the replay because the way you're describing what happened, I really didn't see on first glimpse, but maybe on a second glimpse, I'll be able to see. So all this discussion, at least pertinent, because we go into the first division for Monday, April the 20th, 2026, and there you see, I would dare say, egregiously listed as the 3-1 second choice, one Mosdale Ben. Well, he's technically the 4. People talk all the time about morning lines sometimes being arbitrary or flat wrong, and it's almost a point that you want to just kind of dismiss because it happens more often, unfortunately, than we'd like to think. But let's get this out in the air. Mike, is there any universe that Coach's Corner is truly the favorite in this race off of that mile Mosdale Ben went?
Probably not. Not with now if the draws were flipped, maybe. But the fact that Mosdale Ben is inside him, I do think he'll be favored. But Coach's Corner obviously has his backers. I didn't think he'd be 1-9 coming off that bench in a 4th place finish. So he added Lasix. If you like him, maybe this is the time to catch a little bit of a price on him because Mosdale Ben will take his money now. I do think he's a favorite. But you got Donald Luther in there too. He's off 2 straight wins. He's looked very good. It was 2-5 last time. This is a fantastic race, really. I mean, this is going to give us a little clue into really where these 3 are against each other, especially if they go hard and get after it. Coach's Corner being on the outside shakes up the race. Like Edison said, everybody's still trying to find points. I mean, you don't want to be left in that last leg trying to have points to get into the final. So all these guys have gotten points so far, but there can only be one winner this week. So we'll see. This is a good race.
Well, the other thing I really noticed, Ed, I don't know if you felt the same way, through the upcoming 4 weeks of this series so far, this is probably the way these races drew feels the most competitive that we've had of late. Because, we had a couple of weeks where the real obvious horses were landed in one division and maybe there was like a fringe second player who may have been able to get into the mix and, the cream rose to the top. We saw obvious things happen, but it feels like this division, even the second division, which does have a standout, but the horse is drawn into a weird spot. In the last division especially, this is probably the most competitive splits of the Borgata we've seen so far.
Yeah, I agree with that. Ray, hopefully you have the program in front of you. See, this is a joy of me having to do this off my phone. I don't know if we've already said, but, my computer having issues. I'm on my cell phone, so I'm realizing my options are ask you this question, Ray, or stare at my phone really closely and look really weird on camera. So I'm going to just ask you instead. But that first leg where Coach's Corner had his issues, was Mosdale Ben in that division, or were they in separate divisions that leg?
They were in separate divisions. Wait, that was they were separate divisions.
Okay. I'm just trying to start to comprehend a little bit of how the public might think of betting this. I mean, look, I think we all should be a little surprised. I mean, look, they were right about Coach's Corner. We knew the backstory. We knew the excuses were there, right? You had the bleeding issue. You had the Lasix. Here we are. Things are right. But still, like, how short of a price you're willing to take on, Coach's Corner to be right against again, who was second? Who was the second choice that race? There was one horse that took a lot of money besides Coach's Corner, right?
Well, that was Toho Firestone.
Firestone, thank you. And, we were kind of wondering what the price differential was going to be between those two. We saw, obviously, they did come for Coach's Corner very heavily. And, I think in the right spot, he definitely could be vying for favoritism here with Mosdale Ben. I mean, again, I think, look, we talk about all the time. It's not how you go fast. It's not how fast you go. It's how you go fast. So I don't know if we want to fall too much in love with the time that Mosdale Ben put up there. But with these posts, I think that's the big takeaway, right? I mean, with these particular post draws, I think Mosdale Ben probably is the favorite. But that said, I don't think he's quite as heavily favored as you think there, Ray. I think Coach's Corner has his supporters. I think he takes his money. I think he's proving, the kind of horse he is, ignoring the first. He's only had 2 starts in the series. And with that said, again, I think intent starts to become important. Not that Mosdale Ben can by any means, relax this week, but Coach's Corner, if he quit racing right now, I don't think he'd be in the final. I think he has points to earn here in these last 2 weeks to ensure his spot in this final. So I think you're going to see a really aggressively handled Coach's Corner to ensure that, at the very least, he gets second, or I guess maybe even a third if he had to settle for it. But he really needs a first or a second in here because, again, you missed the entire second week. Where did he finish in that first leg? I guess he did manage a second, right?
Fourth.
Fourth. So a fourth and a win. So there's points to be had here. So I think with the intent, Coach's Corner is going to have to be really aggressively handled here. Post 7's a tough draw, but he is going to have to use, I think, some of that speed that he can have to ensure that he puts himself into this race and ensure that, I'm going to say, I think he really kind of has to be top 2 here. I mean, I think historically the bubble points is usually, hopefully I'm not going to be totally wrong about this and be quoted on it, but I think like 150-ish, 160-ish, I think that's about correct. And you're talking about a horse that has, 75 plus 10, 12, whatever it is for fourth. So I think there's points to be had here for Coach's Corner. He's going to have to get them.
And just with that outside draw, Mike, that creates a more intriguing dynamic for this race specifically because Donegal Luther to the inside, I can't imagine he's not going to want to be aggressive to go forward. Mosdale Ben does have some options. And we're talking points. Chase H. Hanover with just the one win, a fifth and a third. He's also in the conversation of just being on the cusp. And we know that this guy can really fire out of there and do his best work when he's put into action. Are you seeing conditions where Coach's Corner may actually be at a disadvantage? I mean, the outside draw is a disadvantage for so many other reasons, but if he has to be aggressive here, do you see that being incredibly risky and maybe setting up for something else chaotic to happen?
I do think he has to sit here, honestly, because there's just too much speed inside him. The 3, the 4, the 5, all quicker than he is, and they're not going to let him go. He's way too dangerous if he clears early. So I do think that he's going to have to sit. Now, he could be good enough it might not matter, and he could get a little bit of a setup. The key to the race, I think, is Donegal Luther, because if Mosdale Ben wants the front, he's proven that he can go get it. He's better from off a helmet, I do think, but Donegal Luther has won and has dominated his 2 divisions. Now, he has to face the top horses now, and we'll see what happens. He missed a week. He's inside all of them, though. If he goes, he stacks them all up, then it's just a matter of who's first up. Maybe Mosdale Ben's in the pocket. What does Chase H do? Does Coach's Corner end up too far back and have to make a late move, similar to Mosdale Ben a couple starts ago? I do think that's a very big possibility. I didn't like Coach's Corner last week. I was wrong, dead wrong. He was excellent. It was a 1-9 winner. Good for him. He's going to back it up this week, and I don't want him, and I won't. I'll bet against him again. We're looking for value, and I do think it would be, a 3-4 for me. Maybe a little Chase H in the try and try to fake Coach's Corner altogether. Why not? I mean, that's where some value might get.
I think you raise an excellent point on Donegal Luther, though. This is the class test. I know we were talking about the class test in the first leg because this horse was just kind of an unknown, had that second in the Invitational, but I feel like from those 2 preliminaries he's been in, aside from beating Mosdale Ben when he had him locked in the pocket, Donegal Luther came out of a fairly easy second preliminary, skipped the third week. So this is a horse that if he's taking money as like a third choice, I think he's an excellent play against, because I feel like he has to still prove that he is an A-tier horse like a Coach's Corner or a Mosdale Ben. Even a horse like a Chase H, to me, he's in the B rung of this whole series. And at this point in time, Donegal Luther kind of exists there for me. Price wise, I am amazed that this went under both of your noses and you didn't catch a whiff. You guys don't even recognize the charge that Scott Zeron has in this race on Catalpa Rescue.
You've been trying to get this horse to win for weeks.
There's only been 2 weeks he's been in. He scratched
all right, Ray,
what?
You know what I'm going to say. You know what Scott Zeron's favorite quote for you when it comes to Meadowlands Inside Harness comic driver quotes are when it comes to horses you pick Scott Zeron driving. Hopeless.
You guys need a little lesson. I do have the replay from the first preliminary, so I will vamp through my points.
Oh, we can do that. Yeah, let's do that.
Because I have the first and second ones. But no, he was excellent in that first preliminary. And
I think
what?
If you like anybody in this race besides the top 3, you're going to get a phenomenal price. If you want that, Ray, you have at it. I might even offer you double whatever the tote price is.
You could get 70 to 1 again.
Just to take your money, I might give you double the tote price, just whatever you want.
He was 70-1 because he was drawn widest on the gate to Coach's Corner. What do you think is going to happen in that?
He'll be 70-1 again.
Albano was favored from post 7 because he's a good horse.
No. So here's the thing you have to recall. Catalpa Rescue, all right, in this race, he is the 5 horse. We're going to fast forward here. For no reason whatsoever, as everyone's just backed up. Scott's going first up with this guy. This is a Captain Albano grade move that he's making uncovered into a 28-1 third quarter. So, it's not as sharp as most sprints tend to be in that third quarter. But what's most impressive is that this horse just keeps grinding on the outside. And just for his first start in the series, I feel like it's reasonable then that he just kind of comes home evenly, especially with Verdun being to his inside. We know how good of a kick Verdun has specifically when he can try and sit close to the speed. So I thought Catalpa Rescue showed all of the right things, was drawn at a huge disadvantage last time, still came home in 27 seconds. This is a horse that does have some ability. He's been showing some good miles. I'm not saying he's a 1-5 shot in this race, but if we're talking, a race where the pace could go crazy, don't be surprised if Catalpa Rescue is one of the horses that's closing into the action at a huge number. I've been confident that this guy's gonna do something ever since I saw that move in that first preliminary. I hope that this is the spot where you can get a second or a third, because realistically, I think Mosdale Ben is still the horse to beat inside of that spot. But I'm definitely Mosdale Ben is my A. I would consider using that too. Catalpa Rescue as a B inside of that race. Why is that so crazy to both of you?
Ray, here's a reference nobody's gonna get, and I'll explain myself afterwards. But alrighty, Mighty Buzzer, is this anything? So the Orlando Magic. Everybody knows I'm a diehard basketball fan. By the way, I can't believe how badly we lost last night. We'll probably lose tomorrow. The season's over. One of our broadcasters every game.
You're from Maryland, and you're using "we" for the Orlando Magic.
Family from Orlando. I'm allowed to be a Florida fan and suffer in misery. And Washington Wizards fans are even worse because they're also in even worse misery. So just let me be. Every game, one of our broadcasters always has this big chart, and it's like, is this anything? And he has to ask the buzzer, and it's like, oh yeah, this is something, or no, this is nothing, right? It's like, oh, the Magic have never lost on April 15th in 10 years. Is this anything? No, that means nothing, right? Oh, the Magic always lose when the other team has more than 2 guys over 7 foot. Is this anything? Oh, yeah, that's something, because that means we can't defend tall guys, right? So once again, Ray's pointing out all these things. Can this horse win this week? Is it anything? No, it's not. But thanks for trying, Ray. We really appreciate the time and the effort you put into this.
I like how you bring up the idea of calling the buzzer as if it wasn't invented by Family Feud and what everyone does. Scrambled eggs!
No, it's a little different. It's a little different. You got to see this. But anyway, what I was going to say was back to something Mike said a while ago. Mm-hmm. This might be your week to get Coach's Corner. This might be the price for Coach's Corner. I don't think it is, to be honest. I think Mosdale Ben and Coach's Corner take similar enough action, maybe slightly leaning towards Mosdale Ben. I think differently than you two in that sense, but I think they're actually taking pretty significant action. It's really, well, for sure, if you like anybody other than, those top 3, like Ray does, then by all means, fire away. But if you like Donegal Luther, which, again, I'm kind of with you, Ray. I'm not saying I am a fan of him, but if you are a fan of him, I think he'll be the 3rd choice. But I think he's a forgotten 3rd choice. We're talking sub 2-1 for sure, maybe even both sub 8-5 on Coach's Corner, Mosdale Ben. Donegal Luther's 6, 7, 8, 9. He's the forgotten 3rd choice, in my opinion. So if you like this horse and you want to take the chance on him moving up against these horses, I think this is your opportunity on Donegal Luther. I think this is where he gets forgotten. And if he can prove he can win against these type of horses, then you're never going to see a price like what you're going to see on him on Monday night ever again. What do you think?
He's not going to be 6-1. No chance. No way.
6-1 is probably
not unless one of these other 2 are 1-9. Then maybe.
Not 1-9, but if you've got a situation where you're looking at 7-5, 8-5, 6-1, Ray's going to make a Talba, whatever, 10-1 probably, whatever that gets going to be.
The problem is, Ed, is the 1, the 2, the 6, they can't take a nickel in the race. So he's the only other horse that can take money. That's the thing. So,
but he's not going to be 9-2. How low do you think he is in this race?
I think he's around 5. I mean, he's definitely not 6 or 7. No way. He's lower.
I could see him.
He was 2-5 last time.
But again, he beat I'm a perfect choice. He's a chart top. He's in against much different competition.
Money. He has 2 wins in the series. He's going to take money in the race. There's no way unless one of these other 2 biggies get bet to 1-5 or something. Then
Mike, do you like the horse?
I don't know. I like him better in Coach's Corner. in here.
Ray, do you like the horse?
I if it was between taking Coach's Corner and Donegal Luther, I'd take Coach's Corner.
And so would I. So that's 2 votes out of 3, and like let's call it 2.5 because Mike's on the fence. It sounds like you and I are pretty definitive. So this sounds to me like a semi-forgotten third choice price.
Granted, Ed, we had a 20-minute conversation about how Coach's Corner could be 4-5 against Soho Firestone, and we gave Soho Firestone a much larger benefit of the doubt than most of the people in the win pool did when he went off at like 3-1 or 7-2. So I'm not necessarily sure that our conversation is enough of a barometer for where that's going to land.
Even if, I guess what I'm saying so there's a lot of different ways that Donegal Luther can get 6-1 though. It could be because the top 2 are both even money and vying for favoritism, and they're all the way down to 4-5 each, which really
the thing you're forgetting about all of this is even if he is 6-1, I wouldn't want to bet him. You wouldn't want to bet him. Mike wouldn't want to bet him.
Well, Mike really wants him with the 4-1 he says he's going to be or whatever.
No, I think he has possibilities. I really do. I think that he's the interesting one of these 3. So we'll see.
Let's roll. The way these pools shake out, the way things happen once they come on track. I mean, might be a little bit surprised, but anyone's going to be really shocked, per se, if one of these horses, Mostel Ben or Coach Corner, if the public doesn't just pick one and one of them becomes like 3-5 and the other one's like 9-5. I mean, then if you're talking that kind of money on one of these 2, then for sure we can get to 6-1, I think.
The note I'll end on from everything I've seen of this series so far, so this is purely for the people who value my opinion, which is probably a fraction of the people who watch this. Of what I've seen of Donegal Luther and Catalpa Rescue, I think you're getting virtually the same amount of power from each horse at monstrably different prices.
I do not agree with that one.
You're insane.
The
same amount of power.
You're gonna have to with how the draw has shaken this time around. I think you're getting comparable ability between those 2 horses.
I would give you
one of those. I would.
Ray, I give you one of those good Cal Expo races. You can have a 50-yard head start if you want. How about that draw?
Oh man! I am so excited for when Scott Zeron finds the winner's circle there. Race number 6 is the second division. The conversation here, I think, is mostly going to revolve around hunting the last dollar. Is this a yay or nay spot for him? Because I mean, we know how good this horse is. He was sitting in the pocket to Mosdale Ben last time. No one was really going to close from that spot, but he still put in his race. He's in against a group that. Honestly, on the upside, I feel like Howlin' the Hills is probably the next biggest threat. We know how good Twisted Destiny can be. Mike, he adds Lasix into this spot and also gets a draw that I think he can work from. And we're talking points all through that first division. Twisted Destiny is so lacking in points that this feels like it's got to be a put up or shut up spot for him.
It is. For sure. I've had him both times, first 2 starts, and he's disappointed me. Now he gets Lasix, gets an inside post. No excuses here. Hunting the last dollar. He's one that's not lacking points. He's been perfect almost. Lost to Mostel Ben in that quick mile last time, but he raced very well from off the pace. He made up ground the stretch. He's the one to beat. I'll try Twisted Destiny one more time. Howlin' the Hills is a little disappointing last week, I thought. But it's a tough spot, and he's racing well. He's getting checks. He's right there. But you're right. It's time for Twisted Destiny to prove it. This is the right spot, too, because besides hunting the last dollar, he's supposed to beat the rest of these horses, especially from this draw with Lasix. Let's go. It's time. And I think he has a good chance.
I mean, that's the question then for you here, Ed, because I feel like Howlin' the Hills has a good chance of being second choice here. Twisted Destiny, you're probably going to get a number in like that 5-1, 7-1 range, all depending on how heavily they go for hunting the last dollar. Can you find the potential upside for Twisted Destiny to be high enough where you just try to bet him to win and hope for the best?
I don't. I see this as a race where you take hunting the last dollar on top and try to shop underneath. But I will ask you, Ray. Let's play the game back to you. Is this anything? All right, come on. I only mildly made fun of you for it because I feel like you're gonna disagree with me.
Right.
But let's hear me out. Well, let's just start broadly. Can a horse other than Twisted Destiny or How in the Hills get second in this race behind Hunt the Last Dollar?
I mean, you're talking about a horse like a Rhoda being able to put in a reversal in form, but
all right, here we go. Is this anything? Can a Rhoda round out the exacta?
I mean, it just depends on what's been going on with him. This is a horse who qualified viciously in 51-3, chasing Soho Firestone, and then every race he's put in has not been racing that way. And
I'm less intrigued now. I want a more definitive, concrete. No, absolutely not from you.
I genuinely humor it because I liked the horse going into the first preliminary, and now he took a week off. So there's reason to be had that he probably had something wrong with him.
I think Mike's logical on Twisted Destiny, who I've also liked, to be fair, and who I do like in this spot too, maybe be second or third. I think it completes my general philosophy on both of them. That, what Mike said about Twisted Destiny, I think it applies to me to Road too. They both kind of disappointed me in the 2 starts we've seen so far, but like you said, we see some changes for Twisted Destiny. We see the week off for Roto, get a 3rd start now in North American soil. I mean, I think for both of them, I'm prepared to give them one more try underneath on the Last Dollar. I think it is How in the Hills that hopefully we can get out of that top 3-4, and try to get a nice trifecta or superfecta here. But because the problem is it's gonna be a short price on top. If you're with me and believing that Hunt in the Last Dollar is just the goods here, you're really no way around that, right? It's gonna be a short price on top. I definitely cannot work a Rhoda on top, and I want to like Twisted Destiny, but again, I don't think I can get there on top. I just don't think I can get there on the win end. But the exacta end for both of them, I can absolutely get to. And again, they both draw well inside. Hopefully, this just comes a race. Hunt and Last Dollar gets to the lead. These two come away somewhere behind. I mean, it's never quite this simple, right? But it'd be nice. Let's get Hunt and Last Dollar to the lead and just let these two kind of buy it out for second and third. And let's call it a day, right? Can we do that?
Well, I mean, Twisted Destiny as a 3-year-old was able to get him that mark of 48. I believe that was in his Adios elimination. He was a horse who chose specific spots on the Grand Circuit, kind of zigzagging away from some of like the larger dances, some of that for eligibility. I think some of that because just that's where he fit best. And this is only his 3rd start of his 4-year-old season. So I'm only saying this because Twisted Destiny could really be better later in the year. But right now it seems like he's kind of just in a tough spot, but we know how good he can be. And it's just kind of tough to tell if that kind of that 3-year-old form that he was showing is really is good enough if he can rekindle that somewhat in a spot like this to beat a horse like Hunt in the Last Dollar with that type of gate speed and foundation to him. If John Rallis heard me saying this, he would want to punch me in the face. He hates this talking point so much, but I think it holds some merit inside of a spot like this because Twisted Destiny so far the first start was okay. He came home 26 and change, was level, chasing horses home. It seemed like last time was a bit more of the flat effort. So price is everything. If Twisted Destiny is somehow 6-1 in this spot, which Mike, do you think that's realistic here?
I'd like to get it, but I don't think I will.
Yeah,
we'll see. If Hunt in the Last Dollars, he's been 1-2, 6-5. He's been 3-1, and that was against Mosdell Ben, and in that spot last time, he's a big favorite here. He's 2-5 probably. So if it's 6-1, maybe I could see it. It depends on how they come for How in the Hills and the one. How much is that horse going to get bet? Like, didn't take a nickel last time. So
I don't think he's going to take much. I don't think Rhoda takes much money. I just think the horse. I mean, again, you know what? It's the difficulty of this game, right? I mean, I think I'm pretty confident. Somebody go back and listen to it. I'm pretty sure Robert Reed Jr. I said it to him on like the very first episode of hardest content ever on In the Money Media, like half a decade ago. Like, I constantly talk about the whole wedding, funeral thing, whatever the heck we want to say, right? Like, it's just the nature of this game, though. If Hunt in the Last Dollar is going to win 7 in a row, of course he's going to be really short prices. It's whenever the results flip that all of a sudden now everybody's going to come for that new horse and you might have missed the wedding, right? So if you do really like Twisted Destiny, kind of like with Donald Lewis in the previous race, I think this is your opportunity because if he wins this leg this week, you're never going to see this good of a price again, right? So again, alternatively, if he loses, you of course don't make any money. So, it's a difficulty of this game. Arota, probably the same deal. I mean, again, if the horse somehow miraculously won, which, I consider to be a minor miracle. I think second is the ceiling here. But, if this horse somehow won, again, you're never going to see whatever price you're going to see this week. But I do think in terms of using this horse in exotics, I don't think this horse takes that much money this week.
Yeah, the ultimate question of this race is, do we really think Hunting the Last Dollar could be a vulnerable favorite? Because he's won 2 preliminaries, but you look, he's been able to get really nice breathers inside of those races. When he was up against Mosdale Ben, that's when things got tight. But aside from that, no one else was really in contention from there. So, like, the most likely
why
outcome,
he get that trip this week again, and everybody's just kind of
well,
battling
yeah,
for the 25%.
the most likely scenario is just Bartlett goes to the front and it's a little merry-go-round, and then you see him with his little cotton candy swirling a lollipop in the winner's circle. Like that's a 1 to 5 proposition, and I think there's room for some other possibilities, but they're admittedly less likely. Let's get though to another really competitive division in the third and last for Monday, April the 20th. 7 horses going postward here. We have Redwood Hanover labeled as the 7 to 5 morning line favorite. Amazing to see that off of 2 game performances, the Doug DeLoyne trainee Soho Firestone was at 5 to 1 on here. But you got Captain Albano inside of this race too. Really, Mike, the race goes through the inside 4 here. I'm kind of done humoring Celtic Spirit being a pace factor. It seems like he's kind of more of a middling, pick up what he can type against this group based on how Bongiorno's been driving him. So I don't know that he's that much of a threat. Verdun is going to do Verdun things since he's landed the 7 hole. I think Captain Moore maybe wants to try and get involved in some capacity, but I mean, when you have this much power to the inside, I don't really see how anyone outside gets into this race.
Agree. The top inside 4 are going to be probably 1, 2, 3, 4 in this race in some sort of configuration. I think this is Captain Albano's week. He draws inside now. He couldn't quite match the power, and you've been mentioning power the entire podcast, of leg 2. But he raced well enough. That was just a wicked fast mile, and there was no way he was winning from that spot on that racetrack versus that horse that was going, 15-1. It just wasn't happening. He draws inside now, and if he can repeat that race of 2 back, he wins. He wins this race. He will beat these horses. Redwood's been good, but he's faced sort of the B types of the series, and now he is up against it from a draw standpoint. Also, because you have Soho Firestone inside of him, you have the captain inside of him, and even Sweet Peach Life has been getting away from the gate very well. So I do think he's sort of up against it in here, but he will take money. So give me Captain Albano, and then I would probably try to cash out maybe a 1-2, a 1-3 exact to try to beat Redwood out of it. None of the outside 3 I want anywhere.
Hey, Mike, Ray intrigued me with this conversation before you popped on here. Betting on this race. Is Captain Albano the favorite here? Can he be the favorite of Redwood Hanover? Ray thinks so.
It's very possible, but I think it'll be close because, look, Redwood's been 1 to 9, 1 to 9, 1 to 9, 3 straight races. That's, or 1 to 9, 1 to 5, 1 to 9. So he's been hammered in all 3 starts, but this is the best races and the best horses he's faced. So I think they'll be close. They'll be real close in the odds.
If that's the case, then we're positing the same question we had last week when we were talking Soho Firestone Coach's Corner. And Mike, at least to me, it seems pretty clear. If you're given a coin flip on Captain Albano, Redwood Hanover here, that's heavily weighted towards Captain Albano being a great bet, right? I
would bet him. That's who I would pick on top. That's who I would bet. That's who I would try to make exactas with, beating the other favorite out of the exacta with the 2 and the 3. This is the race to bet this week. The other races, depends on what kind of prices you get on Twisted Destiny. I might have him a little bit. Some of these middle price, but in this race, I do feel the most confident about the top pick.
How about you, Ed? Are you looking at Redwood Hanover as being able to continue on this positive path, or do you think Captain Albano's class is really just going to trump everything?
I will get to answering that question, but I just want to start with, I love gambling, that everybody's entitled to their own very different opinions. Because Mike thinks this is the race to bet, skip the other 2. I think it's bet the other 2 and skip this one.
It all depends on how the odds shake. Because are you telling me if you got 6 to 5 on Captain Albano in the Wimple, you're not taking that?
No, I wouldn't.
I would.
Wow. Do tell then on your opinion if that is not the worthy price to you.
I think Albano can win. There's no doubt about it. if these posts were flipped, I think it'd be a totally different story. I mean, right? I mean, I think the advantage of the inside post and obviously presumably having this lead early is significant. Unless Ray Celtic Spirit comes to you one more time and buys this lead. But I just think that these two should be pretty close together. I mean, how about flipping it the other way? If Albano's 6-5, what are you giving me on Redwood, Hanover?
I mean, Redwood then would have to be what, 2-1, 5-2?
I'd rather take that price. I mean, think they're closer than that.
But this is a situation. I think you're getting remarkably more horsepower in Captain Albano than you are on Redwood Hanover. And Captain Albano raced really well going uphill against Mosdale Ben in that race from post 7. He was still coming home in 27-1, was bet down to be the favorite inside of that spot, which is really crazy to consider, because that was the whole conversation we had about that race, was that post really what's going to do him in? And it turns out that it was just too much work to do. But now that he gets the pylon post after what he did 2 weeks ago, I mean, show me Redwood Hanover going a mile that Captain Albano can do. I think the only thing that gets in his way is traffic problems, but is that really that likely from this spot?
I mean, look, again, gambling's mathematics. All this is mathematics, right? I mean, to keep it simple, do I think Albano's the most likely winner? Of course I do. But, if just hypothetically, I'm not really going to put a real number to this, but, if I think he's a 52% chance to win, then I'm not going to take 1-5 on him, right? So, like, I think he's the most likely winner. But if you're telling me he's going to be like 6-5, sub even money, which sounds like even a real possibility, like, I'm not willing to say that he's that likely of a winner to me. I think
if he's 52% and you're getting 6-5, aren't you getting the right price?
No, I'm just kind of making up a number. I don't know. I think maybe he's like 30, 25%. 30,
okay.
25.
I mean,
no, maybe not that low, but let's say 40.
If you think he's winning this race 2-1, that's crazy.
Maybe 40. Maybe 40% for him, 40% for Redwood, 20% for Crazy Cabin. Maybe not even that high.
Like 80. He's winning at like 1-5.
No, I don't see it that way. You two clearly do. We'll just agree to disagree. I don't see it that way. I see it as, the two of the best ones in the series. I guess maybe I'm just the one that kind of like Redwood Hanover, in general in the series. I don't dislike the horse. Look, I mean, I do think the race is going to set up very well for Albano, but again, it's a horse race. Things can go wrong. And I mean, it's 6-5. I mean, I don't know. I guess the more we talk about, maybe you are going to talk me on the 6-5, but that probably means he probably isn't 6-5. So if he gets down to 3-5, 4-5, for sure, I'm out there. 6-5, maybe you're slowly turning me around on.
I want to know what the odds are on me like beating Ed in a math problem on any of these shows. I want to know what the odds, because they had to bet 1 to 50,000.
But anyway, the way I would bet this race is honestly probably just pass it. Like I said, I like the money that I'm making the other two legs, and this is my opportunity to just kind of sit back and relax. I mean, if Redwood's 5-2, I think you mount the words 5-2, 3-1, 4-1. I don't know, somewhere high enough. I think it might be treating enough, but I don't think he will be. I think Redwood is short enough that I don't want to bet him. I think Albano's short enough I don't want to bet him. I think I sit here and enjoy this race, to be totally blunt.
Well, no. There's one last. I was about to get to that, Mike. That's the last piece of this. Soho never really got a chance to race.
He's been good.
He was just sitting in the pocket, following Coach's Corner home. I mean, granted, Coach's Corner did kind of spurt away to show, a little bit of distinction in ability and whatnot, but is there an argument to be made that you're getting a way better price on Soho Firestone than you've had in this whole series? You pick up Scott Zeron. Can you make something happen with this horse?
I think he's the Donegal Luther of this race in that sense that he is the forgotten third choice again. So if you like the horse, I
think there's more form to him, but go on.
People out there in the universe, if you like him, because I personally don't, but if you do, this is the best price you've seen him, blah, blah, blah. I don't say all that again, right? So, I mean, if you do like the horse, this is a great opportunity for you. I personally don't. And again, I don't think he's going to take substantial enough money to really affect the prices of the top two, at the end of the day. But I mean, again, kind of what you said. Didn't you say, Ray, even you said Donegal Luther to use kind of in that B-ish kind of a tier, maybe this week could change that. For me, maybe that's where Soho Firestone is for me, kind of that B-ish kind of a tier.
He's a B plus A minus with what he's done in the series.
We'll see what this would. I think he's got to prove it to me in the series, though, right? Because if Albano really thrashes this group, or if Redwood happens to get up and win, doesn't it kind of diminish him in some sense? I mean, like depending how the trip works out. So but if he steps up and wins this week, then absolutely he's right there in the conversation with everybody, right? So I mean, this is an important week for him too, I think, in that respect. But for now, keywords, kind of in that B-ish kind of a tier for me. This week changes a lot, one way or the other.
I love how
By the way, is it too? We're talking about the final, right? Like we're starting to think about points working towards the final. Can we start positing about the consolation?
No. This is already a 43-minute recording.
43 minutes in. Like
Celtic Spirit with speed inside post crawl. Give me Celtic Spirit as the consolation.
We're not booking consolation future bets just yet. I also just want to say I love that I posited that question to Mike and then Ed went on and answered it. So Mike, I guess you're off the hook on any comment unless you want to make a comment of what Soho Firestone offers inside of that race.
I think he offers value in the exacta is where I think he offers a value. So that's my opinion. I think it's the 1 with the 2-3. That's how you bet the race.
Yeah, it's one of those unfortunate situations where I feel like you're just taking what's being given to you and you're just hoping that people aren't as optimistic about what Captain Albano can do from that pylon post. Or, you're hoping also that something doesn't go amiss. To Ed's point, sometimes a horse throws in a clunker, you really have no explanation. Look at Coach's Corner in leg 1. It took us 2 weeks to figure out that there was bleeding involved. But at the same time, with what we've seen of Captain Albano in this whole series, he hasn't really done anything wrong. He's been getting better with every start. His only bad start, quote unquote, was his first one. And so the fact that everyone's been better since, I think you just throw that aside. That was his first start of the year. And if you can get him as a forgotten favorite, to maybe make up a term there, that might actually be value.
Favorite. That's a new one.
Forgotten favorite. Yeah. because maybe people do get excited about Redwood Hanover. But I mean, let's be honest, even as 3-year-olds, Captain Albano was a much more impressive 3-year-old than Redwood Hanover was. Redwood Hanover was a freaky speed, but tended to get in his own way more often than not. But we know that the ability is there with him. But Captain Albano, the class, I think, does rise to the top in that division. That's it for this. Good thing we didn't have the replays. That probably would have added another 20 minutes to this episode of just kind of going back and forth. We would have been watching that Mossdale Bend mishap back and forth for 15 minutes, mostly just trying to figure out where are the horses, because really, Ed, why is it so damn bright at the bottom of that last turn?
Well, you've been there before. You've done the show from that back paddock. Like, it's just kind of, sometimes it's a little bit of camera tricks and, general stuff like that. But, like, it's really not. It is just such an awkward spot. Like, like at Rosecroft, there's certain spots where it's too dark on the track. But that's just, like, a weirdly, like, bright spot. Like, I've never looked that close to be honest with you. I mean, there's obviously a light pole there. I guess it just comes down. But there's light poles elsewhere around the track, right? Like, it is weird that it's just that spot.
The most fun I had doing that Yonkers show, aside from giving out a 99-1 top pick winner in Aston Hill Days.
That horse gets higher and higher and higher. The horse was 74-1, Ray. You cannot keep going. 81, 90-1, 100-1. Next thing's going to be 1,000-1.
Either way, Paul Blumenfeld still hasn't thanked me, because going into that card, he was like 1 for 80. But that aside, what was also fun was I was on the desk. I was live at the track. I didn't watch a live horse once because they were too far back. So I didn't actually see anything that was going on behind me. I was watching everything on TV. And I think if that's not a proper illustration of how the modern world works, then I really don't know what is. I do know that it's time to end this episode, though, because we're slowly bleeding into the start of the 5th preliminary show next week. And then after that, we have our live finals coverage on Friday, May the 8th, the week after the Kentucky Derby. Look forward to that here on the In the Money Media Network. We're going to have some great coverage of the MGM Borgata Series final and the mare companion, the Ursula McIntyre. But Mikey Sleepy, Edison has to be, I don't even know. You have to figure out your way home. You kind of just like, you're in the middle of nowhere right now. No, you're in the Wegmans parking lot with, on this note, why is it that
you have my location? I never told you that ever.
No, but I think the Wegmans cucumber water kind of gave away.
It's actually not. I got this from home. I'm actually just happy to be sitting in the Wegmans parking lot because it was nearby the concert venue that I dropped.
All right, so the note we're ending on here is Ed's picks are doing so well. He now lives in the Wegmans parking lot. I'm Ray Cotolo. He's Mikey P. Edison is in need of great help, and we hope that you catch us for the next episode of the MGM Borgata Series preview next week. You're on the In the Money Media Network.